Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and we just went through, and perhaps are still going through, the greatest Nintendo Twitter Direct of all time. There have been so many things coming out this week throughout social media, getting announced on Twitter, about so many different games coming to Nintendo Switch 2, and in some cases Switch 1 as well. A lot of huge updates have been happening. It's been overwhelming, to be honest, and lately I've been covering just Metroid Prime 4 because that is my main focus, likely to close out the year, but we've gotten news on Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, a new trailer, and a new art today. We've gotten a massive Kirby Air Riders Direct. We've gotten several huge third-party announcements, information on Luigi's Mansion, information on Pikmin, and more. There is so much to get into today. But before going forward, let me point out that I do have this goal to reach 60,000 subscribers by the end of the year. So if you find yourself enjoying this video or some of my other videos, I would very much appreciate your support in whatever form that may come in. Your subscription, liking the video, sharing the video, commenting, hyping the video, it all makes a huge difference. But if you're unsure, that's totally fine. I thank you for at least coming to watch this video, and let's now get into the bevy of news that has been going on. So we have this new trailer for Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment, and it may be the final trailer before release, I'm not sure, but it is a 2-minute trailer. It's fairly extensive. There are some cool things shown off here. I might be doing a deep trailer analysis because there are some things I'm noticing that may actually be a very big deal. And this extends beyond the trailer because we also have Nintendo tweeting about some characters in Age of Imprisonment, such as this one right here. A new ally emerges to join the fight in Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. Meet the mysterious construct who can transform and take to the skies. We've seen this character before. Many are speculating that this is somehow having to do with Link. I am inclined to agree, but I'll be speaking more on this likely in an analysis fairly soon. Another character, though, that might even be more interesting is this Korok here. As Nintendo of America says, a new defender rises to protect in Hyrule Warriors. Meet Calamo, we have his name now. A boisterous Korok roaming Hyrule in search of a place to put down roots. Very interesting, I would say. And also, you may have missed this, but there is some concept art for the different tribes in Hyrule Warriors. We see the Hylians, the Rito, the Zoras, and the Gorons. I really like some of the designs here. Like, this is just like a random Hylian. There's a lot of effort being put in there. He looks like some cool Zonai armor. Like, these characters seem to actually have a decent amount of attention to detail for them. Like, it looks like they have their own personalities. Like, you know, when you look at an NPC character, one that's a side character, not that important, they look kind of basic. These don't look that basic, so that is interesting to me. I wonder if they are going to have their own stories going on, so we'll see when the game comes out very soon. But a lot of other crazy things have been happening. This week we finally got it confirmed, as we've been speculating, we've seen leaks for, Assassin's Creed Shadows is coming to Nintendo Switch 2 and releasing on December 2nd. So this game is coming, it's a big deal. Ubisoft has been really killing it on Switch 2 as of late. They even put out a recent update for Star Wars Outlaws where it now looks and runs even better on Switch 2, which is kind of crazy to think about. But I will also point out this is another leak that has been officially confirmed that came from Nash Weedle all the way back in the year of 2024. More than a year ago, we had heard about this game coming out in the launch window of Switch 2, and that's literally what has happened. Another one, Nash has gone right. But there are other interesting third-party announcements that have been happening throughout this week. System Shock is getting a remake on Nintendo Switch 1 and 2. It's going to have gyro controls, it's going to have mouse controls, and it looks pretty good. Something else looks pretty good, though, is Fallout 4 for Nintendo Switch 2. We get a quick little teaser for this Anniversary Edition coming to the console. It's going to have a variety of expansions. It looks like they're putting a lot of effort into this. It looks pretty incredible. This is a huge game that's coming to the console, another one of many that has been announced for the Switch 2. Now, we talked a little bit about this yesterday, but if you missed yesterday's video about Metroid Prime 4, yes, Elden Ring Tarnished Edition has officially been delayed to the year of 2026 because they are focusing on performance optimizations. We've seen the playable builds, they've seen a little shaky, so they're working on them. It makes sense. And now another interesting news regarding some third-party games, Final Fantasy VII Remake, which has been optimized really well for Switch 2. Many people have been even talking about how it might be the most visually, technically impressive game on the console so far. The director Naoki Hamaguchi had something very interesting to say regarding the future of the series on the console. Nintendo players in the future, you really don't need to worry at all. They are going to get a version that is just as satisfying and just as high quality as the first game, if not higher. So the next two Final Fantasy VII Remake games that are coming, they are going to run well on Switch 2, if not better than the first one, which we already understand is running extremely well on the console. So that's very promising to hear from the director of these games. Now, if you missed all the Metroid Prime 4 news throughout this week, I strongly recommend you just check the prior videos I've been making throughout this week. However, there are two unlisted commercials for Metroid Prime 4 on Nintendo of America's YouTube page. They have gone out to the public. They were not meant to be shown to the public because they are unlisted videos. So yes, they have been leaked. That's what it means. When information gets out that's not intended to the public, that is the literal definition of a leak. So they are out there. Both of these have over 100,000 views when it was probably just meant to be shared to a few select people before it would go live. And both these commercials show off a little bit more footage of some early boss fights in the game. One of them we've seen before, but we get to see a few more attack animations in Carvex. And another one in Zelios seems to be taking inspiration from a boss in Metroid Prime 3, Helios. It's light stuff, but it goes to show that Nintendo does indeed have a plan for Metroid Prime 4 going into the holidays. They just haven't really gotten into it yet, but I do think we are getting very, very close. Now, something else we've talked about are the translations from these scans from Nintendo Dream Magazine for Metroid Prime 4. There's been a lot of information that's been taken from this stuff and more. We've learned some pretty crazy things about the game. We are getting new art for different characters, such as Sylux and this new female Lemorne lady. There's a lot of really, really juicy details, which I already detailed in a video a couple days ago, so you can check that one out. We are talking about huge, huge information here. Like, the details we have learned have me thinking that this game is going to be one of the best Nintendo games in a long, long time. Like, even better than Tears of the Kingdom. Like, it's incredible what we're hearing about in terms of what they're planning for Metroid Prime 4. We've also been hearing some very interesting things regarding Metroid Prime 1 through 3 because the art book is coming out next week. So reading this bit from this IGN article, Tanabe describes a retro studios that need to be introduced to set a design philosophies unique to Nintendo. For example, enemy design beyond bosses was something Miyamoto had strong feelings about. Many Nintendo developers have learned from Mr. Miyamoto that the appearance of enemy characters should be designed based on functionality. This has not yet been articulated quite so concisely. As a result, it took time for us to convey the concept clearly to Retro. This is coming from the Metroid Prime 1 to 3 retrospective, them talking about how there were struggles between the Japanese and American teams working on Metroid Prime, the original. You can see the collaboration working well in some cases. For instance, Retro won out in the implementation of Morph Ball rolling. In Metroid Prime, you generally view the game through Samus's visor in first-person fashion, but for puzzles in tight spaces, Samus can transform into a rolling Morph Ball, at which point the camera zooms out to third person. Tanabe says of this, the transition animation for shifting from first-person Morph Ball mode was proposed by Retro. However, Retro also suggested a skip feature to reduce morphing time, but Mr. Miyamoto directed that it should be unskippable as it was one of the opportunities to view Samus in third person. So clearly there's an explanation of the back and forth here. Both sides had different ideas, and they kept debating different ideas, ultimately trying to figure out the best fit that was a happy marriage of both perspectives. And here, just a little bit more here that I find interesting, it seems that Retro really pushed hard for the rolling mechanic to be expanded and ultimately won out. In an example of Nintendo relenting in the faces of a great idea, Tanabe says, Retro also proposed the mechanic of rolling through half-pipes in Morph Ball mode. Initially, Nintendo was skeptical, questioning whether it would actually be fun. However, Retro responded, please try it first before deciding. And the half-pipes in Metroid Prime are very fun. They gave it a try, and it stayed in the game. So it's just really cool to see the perspective of how Retro and Nintendo were working together back in the early 2000s on the original Metroid Prime. And then another piece here shared from Nintendo Life. When the project first started, Retro proposed an idea regarding cutscenes, that we create entirely new ones. The prototype cutscene they presented was undeniably impressive, with a high level of quality. I would have loved to have seen that cutscene. But here it says, however, I came to the decision to closely observe the cutscenes from the GameCube version and replicate them essentially as they were. The reason for this choice was that the cutscenes were not created solely for dramatic effect. They also played a role in conveying gameplay relevant information to the player. Each scene was carefully crafted with this purpose in mind. Retro demonstrated exceptional professionalism and fully adhered to this direction. So this is talking about Metroid Prime Remastered way into the future, right? And so there's still like this back and forth. Even though Retro Studios is fully part of Nintendo, you do have different perspectives here. Retro Studios is in Texas. Miyamoto and Tanabe are from Japan. But you see here, they're making smart, intelligent choices to benefit the overall gameplay experience. So it's cool stuff there, and this is all meant to hype up the release of the art book next week, which in turn is meant to hype up the Metroid Prime series, which clearly we are starting to get into the marketing phase for Metroid Prime 4. We are still in the early stages. The true marketing hasn't really ramped up yet. When those commercials go live, when Nintendo perhaps announces a direct, that's when it's going to really start to ramp up, but it does look like things are starting to happen here. Something else that's happening though is this online demo event for Kirby Air Riders. We have a global test ride that was announced during the Direct, November 8th, 9th, 15th, and 16th. We're going to get a chance to play this game before it comes out on November 20th. I'm definitely looking to give this game a try. I mean, I'm probably going to buy it regardless, but I definitely want to play it early, so this global test ride is going to be a great opportunity to do so. And I haven't actually had a chance to talk about the Kirby Air Riders Direct. I initially intended on live streaming it. I know I talked about doing that, but with the Metroid Prime 4 stuff yesterday, I focused on that. There was the commercials that came out, so that was the focus. However, Kirby Air Riders, the Direct, came out yesterday. It was very good. We got a story mode confirmed. They also confirmed the Top Ride mode. They showed off a lot of extra little features. This game is dense with content and customization options. They confirmed that there was actually a good amount of stages in the game as we expected, given the select screen, how there was space for almost 20, and they showed off almost 20. I think they confirmed 18, something like that. But yes, Kirby Air Riders is chock full of content. It's really interesting how people saw the game at first with the first Direct and made the assumption that everything they showed with that first presentation was everything the game had to offer. I've never understood this perspective of people where an announcement is made about the game and they assume only what's been shown is what's in the game. That does not make sense. However, it does look like Sakurai did pretty much reveal everything there is to offer for Kirby Air Riders, outside of spoiling the entire story of the story mode. And there is a lot here. So it's a densely packed game. I'm very excited about it. And this global test ride cannot come soon enough. And yet, even more interesting stuff has been happening throughout this week. So, we got a surprising update for Pikmin 4, not for Switch 2, but for Switch 1. Now, obviously, you can play Pikmin 4 on your Switch 2, and you can still enjoy this update, but there's no Switch 2 exclusive update here. What it is an update for a photo mode. They're bringing in the decorative Pikmin from Pikmin Bloom into the game. Also, the Ice Pikmin has been added to Pikmin Bloom as well. But going back to Pikmin 4, they're adding both an easy and hard difficulty to the game. And so there's reason to go back to this game to look for these decorative Pikmin, to play the game in an easier mode, to take fun pictures if that's more your vibe, or if you want to play the game in a harder mode, that is also an option as well. I will point out that a Pikmin 4 Switch 2 edition has been rumored, and this rumor has come from Nash Weedle, who's been getting a lot of things right, as we pointed out earlier in the video. His leak from last year that Assassin's Creed Shadows would be a launch window title for Switch 2 has been confirmed. He did speak on this Pikmin situation and said that there should still be a Switch 2 edition of Pikmin 4 coming. So this just seems kind of like something related to Pikmin Bloom and the anniversary, and them keeping Pikmin 4 relevant. I personally think that Pikmin 4 really does need a Switch 2 upgrade. Like when I go back and play it, I'm like, oh, that definitely could benefit from an increased resolution, perhaps also an increased draw distance, and even also a 60 FPS mode. Like, this game is fantastic on Switch 1, and they could really help it to stand the test of time with a resolution and performance boost here. So I still think that's going to happen at some point, but we'll see. And it looks like Nintendo has announced their Halloween release, or at least one of their Halloween releases, assuming there's not any more, and that's Luigi's Mansion 1 for the Nintendo GameCube. They are releasing it on Nintendo Classics for Nintendo Switch 2. It's coming, and now the entire Luigi's Mansion trilogy is available to play on Nintendo Switch 2. We already knew this was coming, we weren't sure when, but now here it is. They even put a lot of effort into the trailer, there's a lot of extra little details in the background, which is kind of neat. And this definitely has me thinking that they are prepping for Luigi's Mansion 4. As we've been talking about throughout this year, I thought they might even announce Luigi's Mansion 4 this year. Obviously, that has not been Nintendo's plan, but I would not be surprised if it comes out next year. We might be talking more about this subject very soon. But that pretty much sums up a lot of the major stuff that has happened throughout this week. I wouldn't be surprised if there's another crazy announcement that happens later today or really soon, because so much has been happening. I think, honestly, this basically has been the greatest Nintendo Twitter Direct of all time. Like, if you were to put all this into one Nintendo Direct presentation, it would just be huge. It would be a fantastic Direct. It's crazy. So we've had a lot here, good stuff. I mean, I guess if it was a normal Direct, we probably would have been a little annoyed because there's been no new Nintendo game announcements. So that would have been a problem. But outside of that, this is all great content for a Direct, just all done through social media announcements on Twitter and such. But what do you all think? What do you make of all this latest info? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I will see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.